So my name is Abraham Garcia. As Shiloh has already introduced me, I have a doctoral degree. And since a long time ago, I started checking, like the idea. I was 25 when I started thinking that I might be of Jewish ancestry. At the time I was checking, actually, there was nobody in the world I could ask to. There is another famous person, Ginny Milgrom, who actually, we met in the process. And it's a long process. I think I started like thinking that I might be Jewish. I will come back to this idea, but it was more or less around 2001 or so. It's a long time, and it's a long process till you actually find that you're Jewish. But right now I'm working at my own company. It's called Raíces Judías. We have the name in English also, Jewish Roots. And we have also the name in Hebrew, Rashim Yehudim. We are a company, and we have a little team of people working, helping us to find. The website is raicesjudias.com. You can find all the information there. We also have a YouTube channel. It's called Pueblo Raro. You will see something like this or the logo, depending on which channel you choose. And you can subscribe there, and we keep on updating documents and histories and interesting stuff that if you're looking forward to see your genealogy, there is a lot of information in Spanish, but we are starting to also upload English content, okay? We have also this website, Cuentos de un Pueblo Raro, which is where we started. If anybody is interested, please use this email to get in contact with us and to ask questions. We are still helping people with the Portuguese nationality. And if you want to say anything, please use this email, or you can also go straight to the website, and there is a WhatsApp link there that you could use, and I have it on the telephone. What I would like to say today, I have structured the presentation as follows. If you have questions afterwards, or if there is something that you wanted to hear that you did not hear, I will be happy to answer, okay? But initially, I want to give a brief historical introduction on what the Anusim. The spelling of the word Anusim sometimes is without the O, but anyway, this is a bit more French side of the word. We in Spanish, we write just Anusim. And then I would like to tell you a little bit of my personal travel. How did I discover that I was Jewish, and what did I have to do? What did I went through to actually be able to be where I am right now? I would like also to tell you a little bit about the work that we do at Raíces Judías, what we have been doing, and for whom we have been working, how we structure the work, and what is the value that we are raising by the work that we are doing in general, as in the history of the Jewish people. And I also would like to briefly make a mention on the current situation of the historical moment that we are living, and that we would like to analyze a little bit in the context of Anusim. Okay, so who are the Bnei Anusim? In 1492, the Catholic king expels the Jews from Spain. The story, we are not very clear if this is how it happens. When you go and do research, historical research with the papers, you find story that is not exactly what we have been told. But we were told that in 1492, all the Jews were expelled from Spain. And if you wanted to remain in Spain, you have to actually go through conversion to Christianity. Many people did it. I mean, many Jews when we have like a huge amount of people, it's very difficult to say that everybody decided the same thing. But part of them, we assume that they actually converted voluntarily. So they wanted to keep their, they were very rich or they were very poor, but they just wanted to be, remain where they were. Some of them, they escaped, okay? And they went basically to the Mediterranean settlements, of Jewish settlements. And this diaspora, although 1492 might be the end or a peak, it started much before, many years before, when already the Arabs, like they arrived. Some of the Jews already moved down to South Africa, to North Africa, from South Spain, they went down and they started settling along the coast of the Mediterranean. And this started probably like 2-3 centuries before. So by the time that the Catholic kings, the situation got worsened, many Jewish families have connections in these places, you know, and they actually moved there, or some of them went in 1492. Some of them we find with the documents that they actually went much later. You know, we even find, for example, we assume that in 1492, you know, like the Jewish presence disappeared from Spain, but there is a fact that where do we see these Anusim coming back? You know, where do we know that they are? The first time that we see them is in Amsterdam. You know, when they settle the first Jewish synagogue there, that was basically settled by Anusim. You know, they were not Jewish, as we know Jewish, that they keep the connection. They were the people that escaped through Portugal. When this spell happened, some of them went to Portugal. They hid for a little bit, and as soon as they could, with the merchants, they went to Amsterdam. And as soon as Amsterdam got the freedom to have whatever religions they went, they actually, you know, the Anusim, they said, we are Jewish. We know that we are Jewish, but there is like 200 years of, you know, of break in being Jewish. So these people have to train themselves, but they actually trained themselves and they went back to Judaism without any problem. And if we go to America, where the Jews are so famous right now, if we go back to the history, the Anusim are very important, because the first synagogue in New York, it was actually set up also by Anusim that were very connected to these people from Amsterdam, but some of them were actually coming from New Mexico. So there is a part of the history that it has been forgotten. Even, you know, when we think about Israel, you know, the history of Israel, the country has close to 80 years right now. I think we are going to celebrate 81. I'm not 100% sure, but I have to check, you know, what year we celebrate this Yom Ha'atzmaut. But the Jews from Spain were here much longer. They actually went, you know, they came to Jerusalem. We know that Maimonides arrived here from Cordoba. He arrived here from Jerusalem. And he went up to the north, and then he decided to settle in Egypt. But we have people in the north of Egypt, in the north of Israel, that was part of the Turkish Empire, and they were basically there from the expulsion of Spain, and they were always there. So this is right now the north of Israel is Israel, but they were Jews always there. Okay, so we have to think some of these Anusim, that the word in Hebrew means to be forced to conversion. Are the people that remain in Spain, and basically they have no choice but to hide or to convert to Christianity. And the Bnei Anusim, Bnei means in Hebrew son of the Anusim, are what we call today the descendants of the Anusim. What happened with them? Okay, many of the parents did not reveal the truth to their children, so that was the only way that that they have to escape from that they have the only chance that they have, that their children did not have to run the same persecution. And even though sometimes they did not know, they even didn't know that they were Jewish, but the Inquisition knew, because they have the genealogical record. So we have a lot of people, you know, like that they went to Spain, to New Granada, Colombia, okay, what is called today Colombia, and they say, no, we are Christian, we are Christians. And then when they started digging in the Inquisition, they found actually that they were not, but they did not know. They themselves did not know, because their parents hid them. And this is something, you know, like we as Anusim, as a group of people that claim to have this identity, it's important for us that we understand and we are aware of what happens, and how our consciousness evolves, you know, because being Anusim is a very cryptic way. In fact, we are called crypto Jews, okay, because we were hidden Jews, in which you are not 100% Jewish. You are 100% Jewish by blood, but you don't know that you are Jewish, and then you are also not 100% Christian, never fully Christian. It's 500 years now, and we are still coming back. And there is a huge amount of people that are raising now from this past. So many of them did not know what is the truth. Some of them kept traditions. For example, some people still like candles. Candles. Some of them they claim to light it on Friday. Some of them light it other days, or some days, like it was very weird that they always hide it. It was always like that nobody sees that we are lighting candles. There are some special cleaning habits. For example, people used to sweep the rooms to the center and then pick up the dirt from the center of the room. And this is like an old way that we had to respect the mezuzah that was hanging in the door. Because it was hanging in the door, we did not want to throw the dirt as normally and logically will be if you're swapping like a room, that you swap all the dirt outside of the room. The one thing that we find always in the families, and I have talked to a lot of Jewish families, I mean, a lot of Anusim families, is a big secrecy about the family and their past. So they never tell, they don't know anything. If you ask your parents, they will not tell you. And it was some kind of fear that was in the heart that kind of did not allow them to tell what was going through, like you ask your father and they will tell you, no, this is secret. I'm not going to tell you. I cannot tell you. And if you want to know, I mean, why was it secret for the father? It was because it was passed by tradition. Basically, nobody really know what was the secret. And when we arrive 500 years around, it's like we ask our grandparents and then, what is secret? And then they say, I don't know. But there are some weird things in the family. For example, the nails. No, when you cut the nails, you cannot throw them in the fire. This is something that it was told to our parents, for example, my parents. And you say, why? Why is this? Years later, you understand that this is a very Jewish tradition. That when you cut the nails, actually, what you have to do is to throw them in the fire from the tuma that they have from the tuma, because you have some kind of like not such a good energy because it's cut from the body, and you don't want anybody to touch this. So the best way is to throw them in the fire. But what it was passed to our parents is this: you cannot do it, because if you do it, it's something very bad. It's like you are the devil, or you are like the demon or something. Like really, really bad. So there is this kind of big secrecy in the family that was kept for many generations, and it arrived a moment in which where we are right now that we have the fact that a lot of the fear came from the fact that the Inquisition persecuted them, not for, like if we think about the Holocaust and the Nazis persecuted the Jews, 20 years. The Inquisition, we have records that they started actually in 1482, the first Inquisition in Spain, and it lasted till 1820. So it's 400 years of persecution, 400 years of genealogical records. The information that they had, it was bigger than sometimes what their own person had. And they were persecuted. At the beginning, they say only Jews that were converted were persecuted. At the end, even if you were converted or you were not converted, or if you were a clean Christian or it was not clean Christian, it was a very political issue, and there was a lot of persecution no matter what you did. And whenever you wanted to have a higher status or to claim for a position of power inside the society, then the Inquisition were coming back and saying, no, these people are Jewish, and they have like a grandfather or grandparent that is Jewish. Thanks to that, right now we're able to trace our genealogy because it's only through this process that we are able to see this person is actually Jewish. It's not. We don't have any other proof, any other way to do it that through historical records. With the time, and this is what we find in a lot of people. A lot of people are coming saying that my father thought that he was Jewish. My father, they always keep on coming to me and saying that we are Jewish. And this is this longing, that we have seen, like, for example, I remember talking to the Anusim from Mallorca, and they were saying, like when Israel was founded, we thought that it was freedom also for us after so many years, And it's strange how the people has kept connected to the Jewish roots, to their ancestry, that in a certain moment of the family, of the history of the family is a kind of a legend. So in the work that we do, we normally interview people, and we ask about the family history, and we start with the legend, and we ended up like having like a paper or an unbroken lineage that proves that they were actually Jewish. Okay, so where are they now? Where are these people? What happened with them historical? Where do we find them? Most of them, they live in Christian countries, okay? Most of them, they are either South America, Mexico, Brazil, Spain. I think the amount of people with ancestry from Spain is huge, but it's a decision to uncover it or unreveal it or not. Every day, this is something relative new, or I don't know, it's because of the work that I do. But every day we hear a new story of somebody that comes to you, like they write to us and they want to know about their Jewish past, and they suspect they have like some idea that there might be somebody. They don't know who, they don't know where, but they want to start like checking for their past. This is something relatively new. Like when I started doing this like 20 years ago, I didn't find anybody that was looking for the Jewish ancestry. This is only now that we hear. Part of this awareness is due to the law of the return of the Sephardic Jews. Okay. What is their religion? This is something very interesting because I think we have to be aware that most of the Anusim, even if we don't like to say it, but a huge amount of the Anusim today, they will be Christians. If they are not Christian, they might be practicing another religion, Islam, Hinduism. So somewhere in their history, they lost the connection with the Jewish ancestry, and they ended up being Christians. Let's say Christian, Catholic, or mostly. I think mostly 80% of the Anusim nowadays they are Catholics. Okay. So one day they come and they say, we think we are Jewish, and we think that we are part of this ancestry, and they start digging, they start learning, they start doing research about their ancestry, or they start a conversion process, and most of them, they ended up somewhere here. So, I mean, this is a few years, from the moment that you discover, it's a transition. It's not, nobody really changed one day from being Christian to being Jewish. It's a process, it's a psychological process. People need help also in this transition from this side to this, because when you are, especially when you're here in the middle, it's not easy. It's not easy at all to know that you are not this and that you are not that, and that in a way, when you're a Nusin, you're never fully. I don't know how to say. There is like a trace. You're Jewish. Some people, when you make conversion, when you are revealed, if there is, you need like the help of the rabbi, a recognized rabbi, and Bet Din, like a judge that recognize your ancestry. Legally you're Jewish, but you know that there is a past in you that it doesn't. Your history is not the same history of a person that has been born in a Jewish family and that has been raised with all this tradition without any doubt. So you have been through a process, and this is a process that is happening right now. Why is happening? I want to also raise a few questions about this. Let's see. This is also a personal search, the decision or where to stop is very, very personal. And I think we should respect that, that there are some people that are Christians and they know, even if they discover that they have Jewish ancestry, they might still remain Christians. And we have to respect, out of the history that they want to keep being Christians. In fact, normally what we find with the history of the Anusim is that when somebody from the family discovered, there is a part of the family that remain being Christian, and there is a part of the family that may the process to go through, through Judaism in any of the possible forms that there are, like Orthodox, traditional, or Reform. I named 3 here, the most important ones, but there are more divisions and subdivisions. Okay. Let's continue. Okay, here now I'm going to start with my personal trip. Okay, how did I discover? Why did I discover? When did I discover? But before starting, I want to actually make a brief comment about the prayer that the Jewish people do every day, 3 times a day. The Amidah, which is composed of 18 blessings. During the week, in the Shabbat, we have only 7, but during the week, there are 18 blessings that we do. One of them, actually, it talks about sounding the shofar, okay, like making the noise of the big shofar, shofar hagadol. It's written here. I put it here in Hebrew for the people who can read it. But anyway, this is inside the Siddur, so every Jewish person will know where to find it. So, and the translation is this one: sound the great shofar for our liberty, and raise a banner to gather our exiles, and gather us together quickly from the 4 corners of the earth into our land. Blessed are you, Adonai, gatherer of the dispersed people of Israel. This blessing is said by every religious person 3 times a day, every single day of their life. And this is my connection. This is my connection to the. I don't know how, but there is a connection in my soul from whenever I read this, and when I arrived, when I actually started like praying and participating in the prayers, in the daily prayer, I understood something very, very deep, that I was able to make my trip because of this prayer. So the Jewish people are praying this every day. And they are praying this to actually, raise our awareness that we are not belonging to the people of the world, that we are like actually Israel, even if we have forgotten, but it's our right to come back, it's our right to be part of Israel. And this, there is once I actually listened to a shiur, a class by a rabbi, and the rabbi was asking, how do you think that it will be the sound of the great shofar, of the end of from the messianic time, when the shofar is going to sound, and everybody's he would like to come back and together and be living in Israel. How is going to be this sound? And he would say, do you think there is going to be a noise so strong that everybody will hear in the world? Or it will be something like very quiet that only the people that need to hear will hear? And then he said, this is probably going to be some unrest, that it will be seated in your heart, that does not allow you to be in the place where you are. It just will allow you to be living in Israel. And when he said that, in my mind, I said, actually, I do understand what he's saying. I understand that he's actually talking about me, and that I have heard this shofar already. Because from the moment that I started discovering with a lot of doubts that I was Jewish, that I might not be coming from the Christian tradition that I was raised in, from this moment, it was a kind of unrest that I was not able to overwhelm or to surpass, till the moment that I actually make Aliyah. I remember the moment that I came here to Israel a couple of years before, like I came make a few trips before actually making the decision of living here. But I remember the moment that I arrived here, and I remember I make Aliyah to Haifa. Today I'm living in Jerusalem. But in this moment that I make Aliyah to Haifa, I remember saying, this is my place, I don't mind, I remember praying to God. I said, listen, I don't mind to have a big house. I don't want to be even under the bridge, but please don't remove me from here. And it was this deep connection that I'm not able to explain. This is part of the unrational world that allowed me to understand that I belong to this country, to this place. It's a very strange feeling. One day also, this is part of the Talmud, okay? And this is actually, the Talmud is divided in many sections. And the first one, the first Masechet, what they call like the first book that has around 60 pages without the explanations, is called Berachot, which means blessings, okay? And this is in the page 12b, like the pages have like a side and a reverse. So that will be on page number 12 on the reverse side. We have Bensoma, they are discussing actually this part also comes, part of it comes in the Haggadah, so it's part of what we read in the night of Pesach, Laila Seder. When we do the Laila Seder, we read this part. But Ben Soma, which is one of the wise people, is asking, about, they are discussing about the Exodus, and if the Exodus will be remembered or will not be remembered in the time of Mashiach. And they actually say that this is very interesting, because if you read, it says that the Exodus from Egypt will be uprooted from its place. It means it's not, like the Jews have been celebrating Pesach for how many years? For 4,000 years right now. It's very, the Jewish people is very constant, when the traditions are kept, we do the things, it's very hard not to do it. So how can you imagine that the Laila Seder is not going to be what the Laila Seder is going to be, where it has been already, that we always gather all the family, we read the Laila Seder, but even, in Berachot, he's saying that there will be a moment that the subjugation of the kingdom will be primary and the exodus from Egypt will be secondary. So the main party that the people is going to remember is, I think, is talking about the Anusim, but this is also my personal interpretation. But we are seeing that the Anusim are starting to come back, and they are starting to go back to the roots. And so we are at the very beginning of a process that might be very, very long, but we cannot neglect the fact that it's already happening. Okay, so this is the introduction from my story. I was born in Cordoba, in Spain. Cordoba is a city in the south of Spain, in the area of Andalusia. It has a very strong Jewish presence. In the past, it was the main city of the Arab kingdoms, It was like the capital of all the Arab domination in Spain. And it has one of the biggest mosques for many years. It was the biggest mosque. Now in Bahrain, in these countries, they are making even bigger. I think right now it might be like the fourth biggest mosque in the world. It's not a mosque anymore. It's a cathedral. So the church came and built on top because it was so big. This is very, very typical. You can see here, like this might have been up to here, the tower, and then they built this little thing here to say that it was a Christian cathedral. Anyway, so I was born there. It's a beautiful city, very warm, very nice people, very calm. We always hear from the Jews, and this is important. We always hear from the Jews, so we know that there was a Jewish quarter in the city, and we know that there was a Muslim quarter, and we know that there was a mosque, and we know. But when we hear from the Jews for us, was something from the past. Like if you hear from the Romans, or if you hear from something that is not currently happening, it's like an old civilization. When you're raised in Spain, you're not aware, especially, like we were raised after Franco. So after the dictatorship from Franco, there was a big closeness of the whole big autarky, Most of the products were produced just in Spain, and there was very little communication with the exterior, with the world. So if you wanted to meet a Jew, there was not a Jew, let's say, in 100 kilometers. And if they were Jewish, they were not going to say that they were Jewish. So we were very isolated from the people, from the actual Jews, up to the point that we were raised with this idea that the Jews were actually people from the past, that they did not exist in our brains, This is my city. It's famous also for the flowers from the patios that they make, special exhibition. And this is also the city where the Ramban, this Maimonides was born. Here in Israel, when I say Cordoba, nobody knows where is Cordoba. But when I say, so they say, where are you coming from? I'm coming from Cordoba. But very few people know actually where is Cordoba. But if I say the Ramban, they still don't know where Cordoba is, but they are happy at least that they understand, that there is some connection with somebody that they are able to relate to. So everybody knows here the Ramban. He was born there. He's buried here in Tiberias. I've been in the grave visiting, also a very nice place. So when I was raised, I want to point to something when we were in the school. Basically, the way that they teach us history is a very linear way, okay? So we were children, when we study about the Catholic kings. If you have not made like a degree on history, if you make a degree in history, then the history start changing. But if you have made a degree like a normal, I don't know, in other subject or whatever, what you remain with the history is the history that you learn in the school. And in the school, basically, they said that in 1492, the Jews were expelled from Spain, and this is like recorded in your brain, and this is what this is your actual understanding of the history. So, if somebody asks you, are there Jews in Spain? You will always answer no, because this is what they have been teaching you, and so there is no even space for the doubt that maybe you are not what they have told you that you are, which is the problem, the main problem of the Anunnaki. Anyway, when I was 25, I started my PhD in the Netherlands, in Maastricht, and there for the first time in history, I was supposed to, I was working with the United Nations, and I was exposed to a lot of people who were actually Jewish, or which were much closer to Judaism than I was. My name was Abraham. This is the name that my parents gave me, so I did not change. This was my name. I didn't even know that it was a Jewish name. It was just my name. But maybe because of the name, or maybe because of the way that I behave, or I don't know, a lot of Jewish people in the course of, I don't know, maybe a year, 6 months, in different moments, they came to me and asked me, are you Jewish? And I was always saying, no, I'm not Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I'm Christian and Catholic. Are you Jewish? Somebody from California will come. Are you Jewish? No, I'm not. I'm Christian. Somebody else will come. I don't know, from Luxembourg, from Strasbourg. I remember being close to somebody in Strasbourg, and they were saying, "Are you Jewish?" And I said, "No." And they were telling me, "Man, you look Jewish." And I said, "I don't know. I don't know." We are always raised with this idea that if you are in Andalusia, you are either Jewish or Muslim, but this is like a legend also, it's not something truth or something, completely that you think that it might be possible. So 6, 7 people came to me, and I started actually doubting. I said, because when this happens, if they are connected, it might be they are saying, like they're making me a joke. But if they are not connected, and that these people are not being connected to each other, that they have no connection, you started wondering, why the hell is everybody coming to me asking me if I'm Jewish? So there was a friend from California who told me, maybe you're Jewish. And maybe you don't know. And I was saying, like, how is it possible that I'm Jewish and I don't know? And then he told me, don't you know the history of Spain from the Anunnaki? I said, what history? And then I repeated that sentence that I was taught in the schools. So I was taught that the Jews were expelled in 1492. So I said, no, the Jews were expelled from Spain. And then he told me, this is what they taught you, but this is not the truth. A lot of Jewish people remain in Spain, and they hide for a while, and some of them lost their connections. Some of them, they still know that they are Jewish. And I mean, we stopped. I remember we were eating pizza. I stopped the discussion there, but this went into my brain, like it started like, I was always a very spiritual person, and all of a sudden I wanted to know more about the Torah. There was like this was the beginning of the doubting. That I was not 100%. That the story of the family was not 100% what they have told us. And then I remember I started studying Torah, but I wanted to know more. And then I went and I talked to the rabbi there was like a local rabbi, Chabad Lubavitch in Maastricht. And I know he was teaching a little bit of Torah. So I knocked in his door. I went one day and said, really, this is very important for me. So with all these questions, I went to him and I said, listen, I want to know if I'm Jewish. No. This is not true. I went to him and I said, I want to learn Torah. You're teaching. I know you're teaching Torah. I want to know if I can come here and listen a little bit to what you're teaching. And then he asked me, are you Jewish? And at this time, I did not know what to say. Like I was not about to say, before I was saying I'm Christian, 100% sure, but at this time of my life, I was like, I have no idea what I am. And then I told him, I might be, I don't know. He said, how is it possible that you don't know? And then I said, like, listen, I might be coming from the Nusi. And then basically he told me, you have to make a conversion. And then I said, well, why should I make a conversion? If I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish. If I'm not Jewish, I'm not Jewish. I don't want to know, like I'm not interested in making a conversion, at least not at that moment of my life. And then he said, then you will have to look for the mother of the mother of the mother of the mother, and arrive to the Inquisition. No, and arrive to somebody that is Jewish. And then I said, I went back to him and said, listen, I only want to know if I can sit here with you and if you can teach me Torah. And he said, if there is another Jew, I don't mind you being there. And at that moment, it's like the rabbi's, I don't know, stupid way of thinking. But I said, like, I don't mind. So if there is nobody else, then I will go, but no, so I started going to the classes and we became friends, like. But I left that place saying, like, I might not know if I'm Jewish, but I'm gonna try to see if I am. I might not be able to find all these generations, but I'm gonna try. And then basically I started doing a research that was. It took me 7 years. I spent a lot of time digging for these documents, and I have no idea to whom should I ask. Like I was a researcher myself because I was working as a doctoral degree. I was studying to become a doctor, but this was kind of a hobby that I started doing. And I went through all the archives that I was living in the Netherlands. I went then to the archives there, like from the Mormons. And I remember I was lucky enough actually to be able to build at least 7 generations. And then later on, I built up 15 generations. So it took me 17. It took me 7 years, to be able to find the Jewish roots. And then I was able to cross. I found on the maternal lineage, like mother, I found a work from a professor here in Israel, Haim Beinart, who has studied the Inquisition in Ciudad Real. And Ciudad Real was my family was coming from a little village very close to Ciudad Real, Almagro, and I was actually able to find the name that they were persecuted by, that was written in Haim Beinart in my family tree. So that was a moment I did not have any doubt that we were actually Jewish because we have all the papers and we were able to prove that we were Jewish. But this is the city of Almagro. You can visit. It's a beautiful city. Here there is like a theater, and actually there is a lot of research done on the theater because it was belonging to very powerful Jewish families. I think family name was Ocaña, the one that they have. Our family name, the beginning of the family name is in Spanish was Núñez, but the very old one, because they changed the original one for Núñez, was Mojato or Moato. Okay, this was a family name we found that it seems is our family name. They actually hide here because the history is not as linear as they have told us. Okay, in this place, when the Catholic kings were about to gain the power, this city was not under their domination. It was more under the domination of Pedro I el Cruel, okay, which is actually the one that was fighting against the Catholic kings. Unfortunately, the Catholic kings won, and then the Jews remain here, and the political power of the city itself was in the hands of Jewish people that have converted to Christianity. So they were protecting all the Jews' ancestors that they were here. A lot of history written here. Initially, we were coming from Toledo, so the family was coming from Toledo, and they escaped from Toledo to Almagro, which might be like 100 kilometers, 150 maybe. So it's close enough to go walking, but not close enough to be discovered. But anyway, they were persecuted. Some of them escaped. I think we might have family that escaped to Izmir, but we have no connection also with we are not able to make the connection, or maybe if you do more research, it will be possible to. But we have traces that they tried to escape from Valencia, and they were burned at stage, but not really there. But they make a figure of them, and they put their name and then they burn it. But the family escape. Part of it escape, part of it hide in Spain, and we are part of the descendants that come from them. Finding out that I was Jewish, it was a very strange place. It put me into a very strange place because it's not easy, it's not easy, the trip that we have to do. The rabbi that told me that if I found I will be Jewish, when I found, then I came here to Israel and nobody really wanted to look at me, like I was being like kicked out from all the, like a hot potatoes, I was going from rabbi to rabbi, teaching them, and no, we are not able to see the paper. No, no, you have to make conversion. No, you have, but you said that if I was the mother of the mother of the mother, this was the feeling. When I started this, I thought that when I finished, there will be more people on this side that have done the same traits, but I did not thought that I was actually one of the first that would be able to make this continuation and this lineage. I worked with some organization. I had a lot of problems. I have the feeling, and I'm not going to say the name of the people that I have problem with, but I have the feeling that they were taking advantages of the Anusin. And I also have the feeling that they were not interested in the Anusin, but in the money that was associated to the Anusin. And it was painful also, like to know that after all the trip that you have made and after all what you have gone through, like there are some people at the other end trying to take advantage of you, which in the Israeli society is a very common thing, but not in the rest of the world. It was very, very difficult. Anyway, so here you have, I wanted to point out that actually the rabbis, most of them, they don't know what to do with us. The Rabbanut here, which is years away from being able to understand or from being able to be aware of what they need to do, they are very secure people that they only understand their way, that they are not gonna change their mind. The Anusin itself, has we still have like a big trip, and we need to raise awareness of that, like. Anyway, so this is a talk for another day. It was very sad, the place where they put me. It was very, very hard, very, very dark. I don't wish anybody to go through what I went through. But the end of the story, is like today I'm happily married, like the end of the tale. Like they were happy ever after. So we keep a Jewish Orthodox family here in Israel. And this is the part that here I finish my personal story, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that we do. When I came here to Israel, it was very difficult also for me. At the moment, I have to choose between the professional career. I was a very successful economist in Europe, and come here. And I just felt that it was more important to be here than actually to be a very successful economist. So I arrived here and I started working for one institute, for another institute. There was always like some problems. At the end, I decided to start my own company. By now, we have done a huge amount of family trees, a huge amount, and we keep on doing, like, helping a lot of people. We have a whole system that people actually come to us. We study, we charge a little bit of money for what we call a pre-study. So I have a very deep look into the family tree, and I point to possible solutions. Sometimes with 5 hours, we have enough to say if we are able to actually get the right line to prove that the person is Jewish. And sometimes we need it's a process, So we normally follow like 3 interviews with this pre-study, and these interviews are split between 3 to 8 months, 9 months sometimes. And at the end, we're able to say yes or no. Sometimes we are not successful, but it's like 5% of the cases that we have to say we cannot do this because it's not right, or because there is a mistake in the family tree that you presented, or whatever. Now, even if we build the family tree, we have no connection with the FGI, in Spain, from the Jewish Federation of Spain. They have also treated us very badly. So if anybody that is listening is actually had problems with the Jewish Federation or with the Portuguese Federation, we always have like a lot of problems. They are asking for more documents. Sometimes I don't understand if they are doing it on purpose, because we are working with, like when we start building a family tree that goes back 50 generations, we arrive to the 1400. In the 1400, we have like maybe a birth certificate of a line, which is very difficult to read. And sometimes the Jewish Federation of Spain was saying, we're not able to read that. And it was like, yes, of course, you're not able to read, because, like this is written in all letters from Spain. It's called Bastarda, like Classica. I don't have, no, we need another document that we are able to read, but we don't have another document. This is what we have. And this document is real, it's coming, is enough to prove that this person is Jewish. It was very hard. It was very hard. Actually, I think, and this is another conference I want to give in the Jewish Congress here of Israel. I've been invited here to the 18th Congress to give a speech. And I will talk about how to use the bibliography to understand actually what we can ask from the bibliography and what we cannot ask. A lot of people, for example, say that my name is Garcia, for example, and I know that the Garcia is in the list, and this I will not accept it as a valid proof that you're Jewish. But if the situation is the following, that you have built an unbroken lineage, and you are in the 1500 and you are in a very specific village, let's say, I don't know, Almagro, for example, which is the family name, and there is a Garcia in their family tree, and there is a Garcia in that village that has been persecuted by the Inquisition, this should be enough to actually say that you're Jewish. You don't have to prove that this person is connected to the other one, because having that family name and being living in that should be enough. So we should be able to put some lines into and some understanding. I understand that the Federation of Portugal and the Federation of Spain did not have any clear view of what they were going to do, and they were doing this mostly for Jewish people, not for Anusin. The Anusin has jumped in and claimed actually their background, which I think they are in the right way to do it, but it was not well done. Then they say, no, if there is a report written by an expert that proves that this person, and then I am the expert because I've written like 700 papers, and sometimes the federation say no, and you say why, and they say no, and what is funny is actually that we have presented the same line and they have said yes, and why one line yes and one the other. We didn't get any answer, no clear way to talk to them. We tried to talk to them into, through mail, through calls, through anything. They closed. The only way is the website, and they were very. I have to say, that they were not nice. At least how to say, polite. Not nice, just polite. The way that they treat me, and us, the organization, it was very bad. But we are used, because the rabbis did basically the same. So. And this is why I think it's very important for Anusin. I think it has arrived the moment that the Anusin gather together. It has to be the Anusin, the one that make an association, and is has to be the one that actually raised their legal status, and that they understand who they are and they claim their back. It's not going to be the Christians. It's not going to be the Jews. And actually there is a moment that if you're going to take advantage of the unseen, it's better that you leave them back, and that you are not there anyway. And this is a bit more of a political issue. Then let's continue with the presentation. So in 3-9 months, we might have finished a report. This was not supposed to be here, but anyway, basically, like this is what we do. The nationalities in Spanish. Sorry, this is a translation from another. I didn't translate this because I didn't want to get into this one. But I want to raise awareness of what is the value of a good genealogy. So if you are able, there is a moment that the unseen says, I might be coming. And there is a moment that the unseen says, I know I'm coming. And this is, is the difference between having a genealogy and not having a genealogy. The genetic text, the DNA tests, for example, they are not good enough still at the level that they are to determine if you're Jewish or if you're not Jewish. But the genealogy, a good written genealogy with all the references, that everybody could check the original documents and see that you are actually coming from a Jewish ancestry, gives you the difference between passing from this family tradition and these family legends to actually be based on something very, very real, and it is generating this consciousness inside the Israel, that there are many more people that were not lucky enough to their life was not easier than from the Jews that remain in being Jewish. And I think we have to raise inside Israel, this awareness that we are also part of this country. That is true that we lost connection maybe between 500 years to 200 years, but 200 years in the history of the Jewish people, that goes back 60,000 years, almost 60,000 years, is nothing. This is why I think it's very important to actually go through the genealogy, because once we are many and we have all the histories together and say, I have this and I have this and I have this, it's not the same as saying I am Anusi. No, I know I am Anusi and I have all the documents, so I'm not lying. This is here. It's here. You can check it if you want, but it's here. So this will allow us to write the personal history of Israel, of our part of Israel. So of the people that were not able to convert or who were not able to keep their tradition because they were so pushed that it was no matter of death of life. Right now, in the past, it allows you to ask for the Spanish passport. Today, you can apply for the Portuguese passport, but it also allows you to. There are some lawyers that are still working with an old law from Primo de Rivera. So, if you're interested, please contact us. There's still some possibility, even if you have not applied, to ask for the nationality in Spain. So we know some people that are doing. Even if you're not able to make a full connection through the maternal lineage, I think the rabbis should start understanding that these people, even if the Gemara says that you should spell back the person that wants to convert to Judaism, this person is not a normal person. It's not somebody that is coming from outside of the country. The rabbis are very keen in converting the people that are coming from the descendants of the Nazis or the Holocaust survivor who converted to Christianity. They are very keen. They help always. They never reject them because they understand. And this is also why I think it's important for us to do, that the rabbis should understand that we are Israel. It's not that you're helping a conversion of somebody that is out of the country. It's somebody that was actually inside, and this is why he's coming back to claim their way. Anyway, what defines a good genealogy? A good genealogy identifies a crypto Jew. So it's somebody in the history that we know he was Jewish. Sorry. So we have some written proof that he was Jewish, like he was a Jewish treasurer from King Ferdinand okay, and we know his name, and we know he's a descendant, and he converted. Or so there is some written history, or we have like an habilitation. So it means that habilitation, we have a lot of habilitation lists, and so you were habilitated because your grandparents were Jewish, and you could not, like you could not be part of the public service. You could not take a public position, like being a teacher or a judge or something like that, because your grandparents were Jewish. But if you pay a little bit of money that the kings needed, like a big tax, then you were rehabilitated, and then you could work back. So the Jewish, which were always very good, even the crypto Jews, who were very good with money, some of them, not all of them, okay, but we have list of people that were habilitated to. So this allows you to identify that this person was very Jewish. The habilitation mostly happens only with Jewish people. It did not happen with Muslims. There are some Muslims, but it depends on the years. It depends on the region. So you really have to have a look at who were they, what is their name, why they were habilitated, which habilitation, which year they were habilitated. This was also one of the problems that we have with the federation, that they say it's habilitated. Yes, but it could be habilitated from a Muslim. It's not true, not in this year, not in this area. No, these are Jews, and there is no way. Anyway, we have a lot of fight, as you can imagine, with them. At the end, they did what they did, and we keep. If we think that this person is Jewish, then we give the approval. If the federation does not want to say, okay, don't say it, but with all honesty, we give the approval. If you say no, it's your business. We have no connection with them. We are doing our work. We are fully independent. We give all the proofs, and the decision is taken by us, because I am supposed to be the expert. But if my word goes against them, I have no problems to say something that they are not going to say. I tell the client always, it might be that the federation does not accept it, but I think you're Jewish. And then I proceed. So basically, going back to what does it mean to have a good genealogy, it means to actually have somebody identify, let's say this person is Jewish, and then we have all the connections with the bibliography, with primary documents, with secondary documents, to prove that you are connected to this person, okay? So we have like your birth certificate, the birth certificate from your mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, grandfather, and we move, like we build a family tree. So what we have done, and what we are specializing in right now, is in actually just following one line, going and writing a little bit of the history of the Jewish person that we find there, and putting all the documents together, putting also what are the documents that identify this person as a Jewish person. And this, if you have this written, normally we write like 40 pages, between 20 to 40 pages. We also do it for Jewish people, Jewish people that were not the typical, like Sephardic Jews. And in general, I mean, as far as we know, the Federation has said no many times to our documents, also for political issues with the institute that I was working before. But the ministry has accepted all the papers as far as we know. So we have not known that the Ministry of Spain has said no to any of our documents. But it could be that tomorrow they say, this is also possible. But so far we have presented a huge amount. I put there 700, but I am not able to tell you if it's 700, 800. I will have to count, go through all the work that we have been doing for the last 5 years and tell you exactly how many are they, but around that number. Okay, so what is happening now? This is how I want to end, and I think it's about time to end also for me and allow for some questions. So we have here something very weird that is happening, and I think at a certain moment Israel will have to say something about the Anusim, because so far Spain have acknowledged that with problems, with restrictions, with a very heavy, paperwork to actually be able to prove that you're Jewish. But both Spain and Israel and Portugal have recognized that they were Jewish people living there 500 years ago, and that they have some rights. Israel is very quiet, and I mean, I think Shiloh maybe have some connection with even if he's not the president, Netanyahu. even if he's not the president, his father, his father was a historian, specialized. Father from Netanyahu was a historian, specialized in the Anusim. So he part of his work, I think he's called Ben Zion Netanyahu. It's about the Anusim, and he said basically that there are no living descendants of the Jews. So that it's not possible to do this that we are doing. I think I read this, I'm not 100% sure, but it's about time that Israel says something, especially because I don't understand, and now that I have the word, I don't understand how Israel can recognize the history from the Falashas, for example, from the Jews that were lost in Ethiopia. That is true, that is the story is there, that the story was there, that Obadiah recognized that, but it was a very weird story that almost nobody really knew, and everybody in Israel is aware of the Anusim. Everybody is aware of the history. Everybody is claiming here their passport. So everybody who has a chance to actually claim a passport in Spain, they are trying to claim it, but they are not willing to recognize, like the people that were not so lucky as they are to be part of Israel to actually have the same right that everybody has. And the Constitution of Israel does not allow us, like the immigration laws as they are right now. You are a Jew. This is what the Mr. Happening answered me, in my process of making Aliyah. He says you are 100% Jew because you have this paper from this rabbi, but the Jew that you found is many generations back, and the law of Israel only, only covers you up to 3 generations. So if your grandfather or great grandfather was Jewish, then we accept you here to make Aliyah. But more than that, the law does not allow you to actually cover. So this is why I think we have to do something, it's about time. I think, I don't know why, but I have the feeling that is Netanyahu the one that has to be aware that there is something that has to be done. So I think Shiloh was talking to him. So if you are willing to talk to him, please, you should make this answer. And it's about time to leave